Oh yeah, that's funny. So Brian, what do you want to know? Are we on?
So I'm here in Brussels with Karl Bartos for Radio Rectangle, and we're going to speak about the new album Off the Record. So welcome to Brussels, Karl.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. The songs on the album and the ideas you conceived, they were conceived over the years spent playing and recording and travelling with Kraftwerk.
To cut a long story short, so it was just the event when the record company, which I'm on now, which is called Bureau B, approached me and made me an offer saying, hey Karl, haven't you got tapes in the attic? We just want to put them out. Yeah. And I tend to refuse it a couple of times, but they keep continuing this question, and then I finally agreed, and I had to transfer all my old tapes which were in my archive into the computer, and it took me quite a long time, some weeks, but when I saw all the dates, it led to this concept of an acoustic diary, which was not my intention, because these tapes were just purely for me to evaluate my improvisations, and so this was a state I was in at the time while I was with my former group. So I tried to prepare during the afternoon for the evening sessions at the Klinklang studio. So I switch on the tape machine, I start doodling around, and I fell over ideas which I kept, and one of them, or a couple of them, became rather famous, and these are the ones which I didn't took to the studio. They were, I wouldn't say forgotten, but because you always refer to what you have done in the past. But it was just at this moment when I dig down deep and put them on the table again.
Because when I listen to the album, I can hear different eras in different songs.
Really? Yeah, so, that's good. So you listen very closely.
So maybe tracks like Nachtfahrt, it evokes neon lights.
Okay.
Some of the other ones I can hear a lot of radioactivity in the album.
Okay.
I think in the later tracks like Instant Beirut and Rhythmus.
Uh-huh.
Would that be a fair comment?
Well, it's the thing is, I have lots of hours of material, and they started really from late 70s, like 77, 76, until 93. And during this period of time, there were unfinished compositions. And some I had to put together from different years. So it was just a huge collage of ideas. And it was really fun. It mixed with these songs were just songs like Tour de France or Computer Love, Neon Light. They were all there in my archive in their very first articulation, in their first recording.
But I wish I could remix my life to another beat, without a trace of emotion. My image turns around, calling from a distance, without a sound, without a sound.
Track where I meet my mannequin, my showroom dummy, and he starts patronizing me. So he says, whatever happens to you, I won't let go, I won't let go. And I answer, I'm glad to know that you care about your family, but you kill me, by the way. You kill me by your patronizing. But so again, I'm ambivalent because sometimes I like him very much, and he's a funny guy, but sometimes he's disturbing. So I put his face to the wall and put him somewhere in the attic again.
Welcome to one of the most emblematic buildings in the world, the Atomium. Representing an iron crystal, magnified 165 billion times.
The story with the Atomium, I was shooting a movie for another track of mine, which is called TV, and I had this idea at one verse at the song. I was using monuments, very known buildings from Europe, so the Buckingham Palace, Tower of Eiffel, and the Atomium, of course. But I couldn't get footage, so I was going to the homepage of the Atomium, and I discovered those 2 DVDs. I bought these DVDs and I had a look at them, and it felt like I had to do a composition on that building because it's a great symbol. It has got a symbolic meaning also on technology and on this belief what we had that this nuclear power would bring us a clean future of energy and so on. And this was the first step. And then the Fukushima disaster happened, and I had all these musical fragments, and I thought, okay, this could be now a symbol for the rise and the fall of the dream of atomic energy, and that's what it became for me. And talking to André Simons, the director of the Atomium, assured me in that, because he's got the same approach. It's really a fantastic. It has got a symbolic meaning. To to me, it becomes a symbol for the rise and fall of atomic power instead of the belief in this progress. The robot is just a metaphor for technology in general. So, and we, as we are human beings, we like to look at robots because of this anthropomorphology. They look like us. But what we mean is just technology. We see a semi-human being, but talking about robots is talking about technology and the man-machine conversation. So we are talking. We have a conversation with technology and with progress. It's maybe 50%. So I use my real voice, and and even if I use a vocoder, I sing it. But it's not my texture. Yeah. It's a texture of technology. And if I have a song like Nachtfahrt, I sing about myself, my own feelings, and it's in the first person. I drive. I have a feeling. I think about that, or I'm observing that. It's always the first person. And if the vocoder sings or the speech synthesis, it's somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's not me. It's the technology itself. Mm-hmm. It's progress itself singing, and the big progress machinery what we have. It's not me. It's somebody else. And this transcended personality can use other words than I ever could, because I can let him sing something which I don't feel. No, nostalgia is always connected to being melancholic. Also, it has really nothing to do with melancholy. It's just an acoustic diary, and I produced it now, and it was really good to meet me as a young man when I was in my 20s, and I just recorded it with cold blood. Mm-hmm. Really, I had no idea that I 20 or 30 years later was making a record out of that. Mm-hmm. So it was just some of it felt like a ready-made. I had this tune and the chords and the melody, but I had no words for it. And I went to a concert by Laurie Anderson, and the program was called Delusion, and the main theme of her program was the death of her mother. And I was really fascinated by this concept, because the way she dealt with death, with art, with love, and all the big themes of our life, she made it just very, very pleasant, and it was just so easy. She said there was one thing. My mother said, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die," and then she died. So it really grabbed me, and I thought that is the one chance in a lifetime that I could write a song on death, on love, on religion, and this is what the lyrics is all about in one track.
Song filled the air. She lent her voice to death and despair. The sofa on stage turned into a screen. Concrete illusion felt like a dream. I connect to the sound inside my mind, closer I can't get to the divine. I wish I could believe in God. Life would be just safe and sound. I built my house on solid ground. It's rather hard to understand why some believe and others can't. Who rules the tuning of the world? If life was a song, would that affect me? Could I offset a track?
I include the word silence on this album because I want to bring up the concept of silence, because nobody normally is aware that there is no music without silence. So if you look at written music, for instance piano music, you have symbols for the for quavers and for semi-quavers, and the same symbols or different symbols indicate rests. So, and if you put the rests off, you just have a drone in the end. Or so we need the rests to. The model is in the air, so you need simply symbols for the rests to indicate how long is a note going to play, as well.
Yeah.
So, and I love silence. Don't you love silence? It's
more and more these days. It's,
but you know,
commodity.
The great master John Cage pointed out there isn't really silence. Even if you go into an unechoic chamber, you certainly hear your blood pressure and your heartbeat. Yeah, so you can't get away of sound really.
When I went to the IRCAM studio in Paris.
Yeah, you have been in a silent place?
Yeah, there's a silent place. Yeah, it's weird sensation because you feel your breath and your...
Exactly, it's very frightening in a way. But I think silence is good for us.
And I once tried some headphones in a technology shop that people can use on planes, and they just create silence. A kind of muting effect, and it was very strange to wear these in a busy store and just suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
Very strange sensation.
Yeah. Some people are afraid of silence. So normally my father-in-law, so his car radio is connected to the door. So he always, if he drives a car, he listens to radio. And if I switch it off, he gets nervous. So and one day I made an experiment with him, which is called a sound walk. So we went around the block, and I'm told, so Irvin, his name is Irvin, so Irvin, please listen to what you hear. And it was just 5 minutes. And then I told him, okay, we are back home now, and please tell me what you have heard the last 5 minutes. And then he started to think about what life is if you hear consciously. your environment is, and it opened for him a completely new world, really.
Yeah, bird song.
Yeah, birds, cars, everything. If you open a door, it makes noise. Everything is making noise, but you don't recognize them. Yeah. But if you listen carefully, you're very much you kind of like this idea that we are living on this planet and we compose our environment. So every century is composing his own or its own environment,
his own soundtrack.
His own soundtrack. Yeah, can you imagine how this place would have, or Brussels would have been sounded 200 years ago? No, with no cars, with no.
Horses.
Yeah, there were horses. There was bells in the streets, Glockenspiel. So all those things. So much on silence.
In the world of pop, there are not so many musicians with a classical music training. Do you think this has helped you in your approach to music?
Difficult question. I don't know. I think it helped me actually. So I feel good if I understand where the musical context of a symphony is going now. I wouldn't say I'm completely accomplished. I couldn't write now a symphony for 80-piece orchestra, but if I really wanted in one point of my life, I could have learned it. Yeah, it helps. It helps a lot if you know what you hear. Sometimes it's in a way though, because I always analyze what I hear. So I don't have perfect pitch, but I follow the chords, and if I don't like the lyrics, I don't like the song. So sometimes it's good to forget your musical education also. But in general, I would say it's better to know than to be naive.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about sound, it's about time, the whole album, and the power of music, because it encapsulates time. So going back in time, it refreshes your memory, and we can't, unfortunately we can't go back. We can't go into the future because we don't know what but we can go back. So this is actually what I did. And there's another interesting thing. Listening to music consists of all the three times, because if you hear a piece of music, not now, this one is background music, but if you are in a symphonic orchestra at a concert and the symphony starts, you're conscious, or you take to the concert your sound biography, what you have learned in the past, and then the symphony evolves, and you learn about what you hear. And then you hear, so this is past. And then you hear the very moment of reception, and you have your expectations how the music is going to be in the future. So you have your expectations. So it's the past, it's the present, and the future. Every time you listen to music. There's no soul in machines, and even not in a computer, and never will be. There will maybe they will be able to have a certain algorithm, and if you have robots in the house, they can nurture some old people or whatever, but without soul, definitely. I don't think this will ever be possible. The soul cannot be transferred. Nobody knows what it is, a soul. How can you program anything what you don't understand? So, it's completely irrelevant.
Die menschliche Stimme ist das ausdrucksstärkste Musikinstrument überhaupt.
I got fascinated by the movement, German abstract films in the beginning of the 20th century. So around 1910, 1920, there was this movement the general movement in art, that the painters became more abstract. They didn't want to give the picture of the world, but more the feeling what you got if you observe the world. So people like Kandinsky or so, they came up with abstract paintings, and they were always very jealous that music is completely abstract, but it can evoke emotions. And it's very hard with paintings to incorporate movement, because it hasn't got the timeline. And at the same time as abstract painting was established, the medium of film came around, and bingo. So what the painters did was they put abstract painting on a timeline. And then rectangles and triangles and circles started to move. And then once they had put this abstract painting on a timeline, they treated the visual layer like music. So they were able to develop in time, and they had movement suddenly. And I thought this was the time when the visual layer and music met. And from that point on, I started to feel like this shouldn't be the very wrong for me if I try to be making films as well. And there was also this movement of VJing in the 90s. So people cut sequences of film out of order, and that was very Dada as well. So, and if you take the narrative element out of film, you have something like music again. And that's exactly the place where I got in.
Sinn und Verstand, das bringt mich noch mal um. Ich fahr die ganze Nacht, bis ich bei dir bin.
It was now 20 years after I left the band. I have no reservation about it anymore, and I thought I could, rather than put it away from me, because everybody keeps approaching me because I was in that famous band. So I just rather make a whole album as a concept, where I just going back in time, listening to my acoustic diary, and meeting my colleague Herr Karl. So this Herr Karl, the showroom dummy, is still in my library, and I made a movie of him. And so it's just an encounter, and he talks to me, and I talk back, and so we have a conversation, and it's the whole album concept is about meeting myself as a young man and using it as a tool for creativity.
Die Abstraktion der Welt, die Gestaltung der Form aus Licht, Bewegung, Dynamik, Gleichzeitigkeit, die Melodie der Bilder. Bewegen sich auf der Zeitachse. Linien horizontal, vertikal diagonal.
Die Artikulation der Zeit, das Gesamtkunstwerk, die Augenmusik.
And transferred all what I could found in my archive from all these years into the computer. And when I saw all the dates, 77, 78, 79, 85, 86, I had a look at it and it looked like an acoustic diary. But nobody should, it was not meant to be a diary or something. It was just like working recordings for me to evaluate my improvisations. So I thought this is the concept of the record. It's an acoustic diary, and it was sort of secret. It was not produced for public, so it was produced off the record. Krautrock is a name written by English idiots. They just krautrock, and so I don't use this term. But it indicates a certain period of time, and this is the way I are able to express myself in music. I don't want to sound like krautrock, or I sound like Karl Bartos. Technology sucks.
Yeah. So
You,
now
you can't trust it. Technology is just a game.
Radio.